Cullen goes live in 3 minutes. Lynn Cullen goes live in 2 minutes. Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello, and good morning. Welcome to another big primary election day in this astonishing, terrifying primary year. And it's a Tuesday. I hear my sister making noise.
I'm sorry, I'm walking away from the pot. I am walking away from the coffee pot.
Walk away from the pot.
My timing was just a little bit off, and I was trying to make some fresh coffee before we started. Okay.
Okay. Walk away from the pot. So Susan finds herself actually for the first time in a long, long time in her own home, right? Oh, no, you were last week, I think.
I was, but just for like
a
24
minute.
hours.
Right, and then you left again. I can't keep track of you anymore. I don't even know where the heck.
I can't keep track. And I have a proposal for you later about a trip to take with me, but never mind.
Is it to Havana to see the Rolling Stones?
No.
Well.
It's to Lucerne.
Lucerne?
Yeah.
What? Switzerland.
Well, I have a wedding there, and I thought, well, I should go. Why shouldn't I go?
I didn't know you were getting married.
You didn't know I was getting married?
You said you have a wedding there. I should know if you're getting married, Susan. Really? Well, okay, we'll talk about it. I always have to be browbeaten into going anywhere, so I barely made it through a weekend in Philly last weekend, so I'm just...
I know. Just think of it. We could spend a few days in London, see Eva. Anyway, go ahead.
And the sales pitch begins. Okay. So, Susan, I had a show yesterday, which I wish I hadn't had because I was still, I don't know what, I was incoherent. I'm hoping to be more coherent today, but I think finally what has happened to me with all of this is that I've just started to come apart.
You've stopped being amused finally, have you?
I'm so not amused.
Okay, so I have an article for you from the Washington Post today that you should look at. That therapists, massage therapists, people who deal with people who are at places where people go to release stress, see a new kind of stress. I mean, patients in consulting rooms spending whole hours, saying, "How can this be? What's going to happen?"
Oh, I mean, people really are starting to
panic.
Well, I think I did say yesterday it's hard to be anywhere for more than 5 minutes, even if you're sitting in a restaurant or you're at a bus stop or whatever, without starting to hear somebody talking about it. That's all Americans are talking about. And
then some other guy says, and then you're out to lunch with a business acquaintance, and they start out by saying, what a great idea Trump is, and then you have absolutely nothing left to say.
Yeah. It's really, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you've settled down and noticed that this is effing scary.
Yeah. I knew that, but I was in and out because I was trying to pace myself because, good God.
Although I will say, I had a long conversation with one of my sisters-in-law Friday night. We sort of spent the evening together on the phone, and we, among other things, spoke about this. And as people know, my husband's family is made up of entirely maybe one or two in-laws, but everybody else is very Republican.
I mean, really Republican.
Really.
Really.
And my sister-in-law just made it really clear that she'd thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. It was clear that she had no choice, but she couldn't stay home because staying home would be a vote for Trump. She would absolutely have to vote for Hillary. And I swear I almost started crying.
Aww.
I said, I'm so proud of you. She said, proud of me? What choice do I have?
Well, has she ever voted for a Democrat before?
No, I don't think so.
Not that you're aware of. Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that.
Isn't that so? Yes, I put that out there that, the thinking Republicans understand the power of their vote, understand the power of their non-vote, and see Trump, at least in some instances, as so terribly frightening that they will absolutely cross over.
But do they see Cruz as that frightening? No. No.
I don't know that she was as upset with Cruz.
No, because he seems normal or regular. I mean, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, so the latest wrinkle, there's always something, right? Today's a big day because you will see if there seems to be a slight erosion. It seems like maybe there is some putting on the brakes a little bit on Trump's bandwagon.
Yeah, apparently the Hitler salute was one step too far.
Well, even before the Hitler salute. Okay, so I didn't know about that till yesterday. My son was driving me to pick up my car at a dealer, and he said, "So did you see the Hitler salute?" And I said, "What?" And I thought, because he can exaggerate or pull my leg or whatever, I couldn't even believe it. And then I saw the picture, and man, it does look. I mean, it just looks like a friggin' Hitler rally. Now, let's be clear. He just said, I mean, it might have.
All he said is raise your right hand.
Raise your right hand.
Take an oath. He didn't say,
Heil Hitler. Right. He said,
such is the nature of his supporters. What are you going to do?
And after sort of all hell broke loose, he did it again at the next. He's been doing it. It's not like he stopped after it was raised. And this morning, the latest on it is he said this on the Today Show. I mean, we're having a great time, he said.
They make me do it.
He says, sometimes we'll just do it for fun. And they'll start screaming at me, do the swearing, do the swearing. I mean, they're having a great time. They're massive crowds. I get, by far the biggest crowds. And we're having a good time. Honestly, I didn't even think this was a problem. He has since said that, maybe we'll rethink this if people are... It's weird that he does then back away after he does the... I don't know, but... Who was it, Foxman, the former head of the ADL, who actually came out and said it was a fascist gesture? There's no doubt about what that was.
Right. There have been several people that have come out.
And someone tweeted me. I got one of you was a Barbara. She yesterday sent me a picture of Mussolini and a picture of Trump next to it, and I swear, they look exactly alike. I'm not kidding. Exactly alike. And they weren't, fooled with or, I don't know. And then on Morning Joe this morning, he was asked about it again, and Joe Scarborough actually apologized sort of for asking the question, but said he had to, and that in fact all of the people around the table with him thought it was, totally benign, which is interesting. But he asked them again, it's been compared to so a lot of people, maybe it was, but why, if the word fascist is being rolled out and Mussolini and all of this for weeks on end, and then all of a sudden your crowds are doing, raising their hands like this?
Right.
Don't
say, hey folks, we're giving the wrong impression here.
But do you think, I just wonder how much he knows what he's doing. And how much?
Well, I think most of the time he doesn't know what he's doing, and that's part of the problem. And it's a two-part problem. One, he doesn't know what he's doing when he's doing it. He's totally impulsive. And the second part is that when he does do it, he either pretends like it didn't happen. What we are looking at is a 5-year-old. Mm-hmm. It's like one of those stupid movies that they make where there's a 5-year-old that's been transported into a grown-up body and finds himself in the city. This is what we're looking at. It's appalling. There's nothing funny about this. And damn it, Republican Party, you did this. And now you're all going, oh my, how did this happen?
Yeah.
Well, let's review, shall we?
Isn't it something? I don't know that they do know that he's their monster.
Total creation?
I don't think I don't see evidence that the party itself is
the people that
support
Donald Trump are the people that have bought the hardline, right-wing, anti-government,
anti-media, anti-government,
xenophobic,
nationalistic,
been carefully educated.
That's right.
This group of people didn't just rise up suddenly as a populist movement. No. They've been carefully educated.
Carefully taught. Wow. Well, so Michigan, I guess he's right now ahead of Rubio's out. He's ahead of Rubio in Florida by something like 20 points. But there's a week for that to close up a little bit.
I think
I'll tell you, I think the Republicans have one more week if they're going to stop him. They got one more week. Because if he does as well today as I think people think he's going to do, right? Michigan and what's the other one? There's Mississippi.
And add in this thing. If, for example, Rubio drops out, those delegates go someplace.
Yeah. The assumption is always that they don't go to Trump, but who's saying that?
Who's saying that?
Yeah. Well, and the other wrinkle that we got yesterday is, thank God, Bloomberg realized that, in fact, if he were to jump in, he would ensure a Trump victory. Right, because his voters would be potential Hillary voters.
Right.
For instance, your sister-in-law.
Right.
Right?
Right.
She would have, if you put Bloomberg in, she'd go to Bloomberg.
Right.
Not to Hillary.
Right.
And Bloomberg also, of course, realized that he couldn't win, so why do it?
Right.
So that now is out of the picture. It's really it's something. It's something. I just don't. America is being shown itself in a unvarnished kind of a way.
Right. This is a magnifying mirror. You're looking at it real close. It's ugly.
It is. This is the ugly. This is the ugly America, and it's unsettling. It really is. It really is. So,
well, this is what I swear that this is. Not mostly, but really fueled by the anger of these people for having to submit to a black president for 8 years.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that.
I mean, and it's
no doubt about it. It unleashed the racism.
It just unleashed the racism.
Did you see who one of Donald Trump's latest endorsements?
No.
The brother of Medgar Evers, the slain civil rights leader.
I don't understand that.
Well, I'm going to say I do because he's 93 and maybe he's not quite right. I don't know. Because he was himself a civil rights leader. He was the mayor of Jackson, Mississippi, or some town in Mississippi. And here's what he says. In regard to what Trump said about the KKK, he told NPR this. It didn't bother me at all because he's running for president of the United States, the president of everybody, including the David Dukes. And I have no problem with it, frankly, because David is just one man. He's out there by himself. And most people have gotten away from that. Look how far we've come since Medgar's death. So, we have to stop living in the past and live in the present and the future. I like Trump. It's just that simple. Susan has fallen off her chair.
Yeah, okay.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
He says he likes him because he falls for the businessman thing. He says he's a businessman first.
But not a good one.
I know.
Understand this. Anybody can, all he's doing is betting right slightly, maybe half the time. The rest of the time he's failing miserably, and there are very few people that ever want to do business with him twice, which is sort of. Yeah. We had a businessman father, and he always said that a deal is only a good deal if everybody walks away happy. Everybody needs to get something.
Right. You don't crush somebody else.
Or at the very least, equally unhappy.
Right. But, okay, so given that Medgar Evers' brother is 93, although it could be an excuse, right?
No.
Could it be?
No, I think we have to. I
mean, maybe he's got dementia.
No. Here's the problem. Here's the really scary thing. There are perfectly bright people who like Donald, and for some reason are not bothering to do any research into their bottom line reasoning for why they like him. They just see that he still has a ton of money. They don't care that. As I said, if you start with a ton of money and are only averagely okay, you should keep a ton of money.
Yes, unless you're a total dimwit.
Unless you're a total idiot. He's not a total idiot. The family is bright. I mean, there's a whole article on his sister today, who is a sitting federal circuit court judge
in New Jersey, and very good.
and very, very good.
How is that? Yeah. He's got a sister who's an
She's
impressive
got the
woman.
same hair, though. That's what's really funny. I mean, she really does.
Oh, gosh. Well, here's an interesting thing I saw from a blog. And I wish I could share. Eric Bollert, and I don't know. And his thing is how the media is so complicit. It's something I tried to talk about yesterday and couldn't really get a coherent thought out. But, we have the CEO of CBS actually saying Donald Trump is bad for the country, but he's great for CBS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard media people talking about how they were partly to blame because they treated it as entertainment and therefore gave him tens of millions of free advertising that nobody else got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So the media is totally complicit in helping Donald Trump, rise as he has. He has had overwhelming amounts of free coverage. I mean, it is incredible. And so we're seeing, again, you talk about the ugly face that we're seeing of perhaps America, but here's the ugly reality of corporate media, too.
Yeah, they don't really care if they're making money.
No, because that's what it's about. They're not about journalism. That's the way they draw a crowd. They're in the business of crowd drawing. I remember first realizing that, when I was first in television and somebody said, you don't understand that you are not the product. The news you put out there is not the product in this television game. The product is the audience.
Right.
The product.
How much of the product can you get, not what you're giving out.
Right. Your job is the bait to attract eyeballs. And the people who get the most eyeballs win. Yeah,
but listen, dearest sister, and far be it from me to criticize in any way, but up until today, as far as I know, you were doing the exact same thing. You just thought he was hysterical.
No. I think people will say I've been going back and forth. As a matter of fact, weeks ago, I said, the metaphor I came up with, it's like death. It's like talking about death and how I can mostly talk about death and in a very sort of, oh, yes, we're all going to die and blah, 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 blah. And there's no problem talking about it. And then there's that time when you're talking about death or when you think about death and your blood runs cold, right?
Right.
Right. And so most of the time, I think I was just trying to talk about Trump, watch this thing unfold. And increasingly, my blood was running cold, increasingly. I kept batting it away because, frankly, we got a long way to go here. But, yeah, I think everybody's feeling this now.
Right. Well, it's about to be written into the DSM-79.
No,
Trump
it's
anxiety.
Not. No. Trump anxiety. God almighty. So, back to Trumpism. Wait, here's Allison. Allison reminds us that when Trump first announced, it was a matter of fooling all of the people some of the time. It was taken as a joke. Now it's fooling some of the people all of the time, the ones who will vote for him no matter what. I can only hope that when the election comes, it will be you can't fool all of the people all of the time. Well, I think that's quite clear that you can't, and he can't. Does anyone really think he can be elected?
No, I think in an election against Hillary, she landslides. I really do.
Yeah.
I mean, because nothing will, the anti-Trump vote will hurt her amazingly.
Well,
help her amazingly.
Yeah. Well, I want to, something I came across, I think our columnist here, Tony Norman, tweeted it yesterday. It was a map. This came out of some study that was done over a long, long time, and it was a piece in the Washington Post about where the most racist places in America, in fact, are. And there was a map, and they colored in. There was, like bright red was the most. I mean, like just an incredible percentage of people are racist. And then it gets less red, it gets pink, then it gets sort of grayer. Well, there is this huge, and this I think has been shown before. There is this huge sort of snake-like red thing that essentially goes up the Appalachian Mountains. So the most racist places in America are, generally speaking, yes, the South, but heading up the spine of the Appalachians into northeastern America.
Mm-hmm.
And folks, I hate to tell you, but on this map, southwestern Pennsylvania was the same ugly red color as Birmingham, Alabama, or the deepest South.
Is Missouri on that map?
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Okay, so the way the methodology was interesting. They did it through Google data, and they said you cannot do a regular measurement of if a person is a racist or not by asking them. Right? You can't knock on people's doors.
Not
and say,
me.
Right. So everybody says, no, of course not. I'm not. So because there's no way to get information that way, and because racism often operates on this sort of unconscious level, that even racists don't know they're racists.
Well, but that's the truth. Until what our eye tells us in terms of color is meaningless in all ways to our brain.
Well, that ain't.
Then we have to start out with admitting that in all of us is racism, and that what we have to do is in some way overcome it. But if you have to start from the place where, yeah, I am.
Yeah. Almost everybody has.
Almost everybody. I would say everybody across the whole color spectrum. I think we're hardwired for it, if you want to know the truth.
Well, I think we're hardwired to recognize people
that look like us.
Right, that are like us, because those,
yes.
You feel safe. I mean, your survival mechanism says, this is like one of me. This is
yes.
my tribe. Right.
Yes.
So there is something probably hardwired.
Right.
But so the way they did this, though, is to look at Google searches. And because when people are searching Google, they're on their own, they're private, they're anonymous, and they're checking out things.
Apparently not, if somebody's checking out the Google searches.
Yeah, but they're not individually known, I guess. Right. I don't know. And this is how they came up with the map, because they looked for people who were looking at racist stuff or Googling, the N-word, this or that and the other thing. And they also found, get this, there is a correlation that found that racist searches on the internet were correlated with higher mortality rates for blacks. And they said even after controlling for all kinds of socioeconomic and other racial variables, it's...
What does that mean?
That means...
That when
hang on.
When searches for racist stuff go up, that the murder rate for black people goes up.
Yeah, here's what it says. I'll go from the report itself, okay? Quote, results from our study indicate that living in an area characterized by a one standard deviation greater proportion of racist Google searches is associated with an 8.2% increase in mortality rates among blacks in that same geographical area.
Right.
And they said this. The reason would be that a prevalence of racist attitudes somewhere will contribute to poor health and economic outcomes and opportunities for African Americans. And again, back to the report, and it's very scientific lingo, racially motivated experiences of discrimination impact health by diminished socioeconomic attainment and by enforcing patterns in racial residential segregation, geographically isolating large segments of the black population into worse neighborhood conditions. Racial discrimination in employment can also lead to lower income, greater financial strain, which in turn has been linked to worse mental health outcomes and worse physical health outcomes. If you're a black person living in a racist area, your health suffers. And I got to tell you guys, no big shock to me, since I told you my reaction when I moved here. I was blown away by the racism here. We are living in about as racist an area as exists in this fine country of ours. And we are living amongst a whole bunch of Donald Trump voters. I can assure you of that. I mean, all you have to do is look at the black opportunities and black population here in Pittsburgh. And you got to believe that the city, the urban core, is not as red as the surrounding rural and suburban areas. But it didn't show up on the map. It was too little. Oy. Ray has written in about the salute. Ladies, he says, these gestures are not innocent nor benign. They may be unconsciously formed, but a growing hate group will eventually form ways of identifying themselves to each other. The rage among anti-Semites in Europe is the quenelle. That's a term I don't know. Quenella? You're too smart, Ray. Or reverse Nazi salute. Oh, I know what you're saying. The rage among anti-Semites in Europe is something called the quenelle. This is this thing that black comedian in France who's a notorious anti-Semite and extremely popular. They do some kind of, I forget what it is, but it is a salute. And there have been soccer players during professional soccer games in Europe that have used it. It is it's a visual dog whistle saying, yeah, we hate Jews. So, okay, you're right. That's the quenelle. It's done by crossing your right arm across your chest and touching your upper left arm with a flat palm. Like this? I don't know. But that's what it is. So they've got a thing they've got going. So picture a Hitler salute folded across your chest. Oh, yeah. It's more like this, something. Okay. The Irish Catholics use slogans like, and I can't pronounce this word, pronounced Chucky our law, which means our day will come, but it became a menacing message. Hate groups are alive under the surface all around us and show themselves through these collective symbols. Yeah. And so Trump's all of a sudden taking a pledge and all these guys, and the crowd does love it. He said, you can hear them love it because it pulls them together. And there's something emboldening about it. And something, it's like anytime you raise your arm, your hand. Right?
Right.
Who ever would have thought? Huh?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not like this is the first time he's run. He's been laughed off the stage. It's just an indication how collectively more crazy we are than the last several election cycles.
Right. Jack writes, Lynn, as I told you before, he's writing from West Virginia, by the way. As I told you before, just look at the presidential election results in Fayette County. That's, Fayette is, help me here, is Fayette to the, no, it's south of us. It's south and like next to Westmoreland, heading toward West Virginia. Okay. He says, look at the presidential election results in Fayette County in 2008 and 2012 when Obama was running. The county went Republican, totally, in a county that is heavily registered Democrat. I mean, everybody there is registered Democrat, and they didn't vote for Barack Obama. And now look what happens this year. I'm sure, you're right. Fayette will go Trump, without a doubt. I'm sure of it, says Jack. And that says it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, we live surrounded by racists. Real racists. The real deals.
Well, at least we know who they are now because they're all Trump supporters.
Do you think every Trump
They're out of the closet, folks.
Yeah, but
take pictures.
But I do want to say, I don't think every Trump supporter is a racist. And here's why I say that, because I know one in particular, and I don't think she's a racist at all. But she's not thinking straight, and she's poorly educated, and she's poor, and she's surrounded by people who are loving him because he's just given the finger to all the people they feel have looked down on them and put them down and all whatever. And so I think some people come to him like that. And I also think what's going on is however they come to him, they disregard the things that he says or does that they actually find cringifying.
The fact, yeah, I mean, but that's the wonder of it all, that how these disaffected, lost souls that the country has simply left behind can look at Donald Trump and see salvation. Like he actually cares about them.
That's the part you can't comprehend.
I don't understand. What part of what he's done on any level suggests that he gives two shits about you?
Yeah. Oh, where did I see it today? Someone said that, I think actually it was a letter in the New York Times. Oh, help me here. He said he said something to the effect of this. It's great. He says that Fiddler on the Roof is back on Broadway in these times because he says there's a song in Fiddler on the Roof that has a line that is a line that I think some of these Trump supporters should acknowledge. It's sung by Tevye, the lead, and it's from the thing, If I Were a Rich Man. And he's saying, if I were a rich man. And there's a line where he says, let me get this right. Something to the effect of, somebody get out the lyrics, some to the effect of, when you're rich. He was talking about how he'd be celebrated and looked up to. And he says, when you're rich, they think you really know. So this is, in the song, he's saying, a lot of people who aren't rich, when they look at a rich man, they think, wow.
He's wise.
Yeah. That guy's smart. Gotta be smart. How else could he have those billions of dollars? They really do believe that, and it is really hard to disabuse them of that.
We have to teach them about the born wells versus the made wells.
Yeah, exactly. So did I get the line right? No. Okay, here. Here is Celine. Can you sing it? No, you don't have to sing it. Don't worry. All right.
The most important men in...
Oh, yes. The most important men in town will come to...
Fawn on
me.
They
would ask me to advise them, like Solomon the Wise. Could you please, Rev Tevya? Would you please, Rev Tevya? Posing problems that would cross a rabbi's eyes. That's not it.
It won't make one bit of difference.
It won't make one bit of difference if I answer right or wrong. That's it. That's right. It won't make one bit of difference if I answer right or wrong. When you're rich, they think you really know.
No.
That's it. So, all right. And another Broadway tune that I almost started singing at the beginning, Susan, because of something you said about teaching.
From
The King
South Pacific.
South Pacific, right. You have to be taught before it's too late, before you are 6 or 7 or 8, to hate all the people your relatives hate. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught before... check those lyrics out. They're amazing. They're amazing. And at the time when South Pacific first went on stage, it was in the, I think, mid-50s, maybe early 50s.
And it was...
extremely controversial. That song was, whoa, calling out racism. And on a lot of levels, that whole... that musical is about racism. Oh. Okay, you got that one? Okay, Celine, start me off. Suze, you can chime in.
You've got to be
taught before... What? To be taught. We can't hear you. You're not on... Hate and fear.
You've got
to be taught
from
year to year. It's got to be drummed in your dear little ear. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught before it's too late. Is that right?
No.
Yep.
Okay, no.
Afraid
What? To be afraid.
of
People whose eyes are oddly made.
And people whose
skin is different in shade. You've got to be carefully taught. Yeah. And that is. People are taught. That's how racism is perpetuated and why it's so damn hard to get rid of it. Children soak it up just living with their parents. They soak it up listening to the conversation. They soak it up. It's always a wonder to me when somebody escapes from a family of racists and somehow has found their way forward to think for themselves. Oh, okay. Susan, I came upon another thing here that is...
No, what? Your voice just went down another octave, which is scaring me. Okay.
It's out of our home state of Wisconsin. I know. I'm looking at a picture of what looks like an extremely young blonde woman with long hair. And she's talking into a microphone, and standing next to her is the repulsive governor of Wisconsin, Scott Walker. It turns out the young blonde who is standing there is a member of the Wisconsin State Supreme Court. She doesn't look over 30. I can't figure out what. And she, I assure you, is a Republican. So a column she wrote for a newspaper in Marquette when she was a student there. Okay, so they dug up something she wrote in 1992. That's 24 years ago. Sometimes I get queasy about these kinds of things, right?
Right.
Right?
Right.
But she's standing up there to apologize. And Walker's standing next to her, because clearly he thought you damn well better.
Oh, she must have been pro-life.
No. Here's what she said, her apology. To those offended by comments I made as a young college student, I apologize and assure you that those comments are not reflective of my world view. These comments have absolutely nothing to do with who I am as a person or a jurist, and they have nothing to do with the issues facing the voters of this state. Okay, I just want to tell you, that's bullshit when I tell you what she said, I think. Because I don't think you can say what she said and then say that they have nothing. It has nothing to do with.
Never
hers.
mind.
All right. Okay. Here.
What did she say?
This is just a little segment. How sad that the lives of degenerate drug addicts and queers are valued more than the innocent victims of more prevalent ailments. She was talking about the fact, she was arguing that gay people are better off getting AIDS than cancer because AIDS receives more funding. So she actually thought, can you even follow that?
No.
She felt that queers were clearly a privileged class, how disgusting it was that they were a privileged class because they get AIDS and they get all this, everybody's trying to stop it, whereas I get cancer and I'm just left to die or something. That's what she seems to be saying.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
But I'd like to point out that by using that level of exquisite reasoning,
she shouldn't be a jurist.
Say, oh boy, you should get breast cancer because that has lots more research money than anybody else.
I know.
And they're a protected class, so screw that.
It makes no sense at all.
No.
Here's what she goes on to say. But the homosexuals and drug addicts who do essentially kill themselves and others through their own behavior deservedly receive none of my sympathy. And then she said, this is in 1992 when we elected Bill Clinton. And she wrote, we have just had an election which proves the majority of voters are either totally stupid or entirely evil. Now, I'm sorry, but she also called gays degenerates who basically commit suicide through their behavior. I don't have the whole thing here. But I'm sorry. I don't know that, and granted, this is before gays came out of the closet.
I don't care. You have an awful lot of backpedaling to do to get to the place where you start all over and walk a new path. When did that happen?
No, she's still a conservative Republican,
well,
and I'm willing to bet
your
she's still.
Your mother is very involved in the state Supreme Court elective race. They elect their Supreme Court.
I know,
there.
and that court.
And I actually think it's the one thing that Missouri does right. They do not elect judges. They go through a panel of lawyers that the lawyers recommend a good jurist to the governor who makes the appointments.
Yeah.
And it really does depoliticize the court, which I think is terrifically important.
She's up for a re-election, I believe.
Yes, she is. There's a hotly contested race, and Mom's pouring lots of money into her opponent.
Who I think's another woman, right?
Yeah.
Some of the comments to her. I mean, how can you say that it has nothing to do with any cases before the court? If you show that level of animus toward a whole bunch of your fellow human beings.
Yeah, you don't leave your brain outside the court. Your attitude affects the way you see the law. We all know that. That's why there's a battle over the Supreme Court vacancy.
Yeah, boy, the comments to this are brutal. Here's one. Your comments have everything to do with who you are, and not as only as a person, but as a judge. A judge that is supposed to be impartial. To be blunt, shove your half apology up your royal redneck ass. Whoops. And someone else wrote, and tell me, just when did you change your attitudes? Was it 10 years ago? 5 years ago? Just now when the report surfaced?
Well, right. That's what I was asking.
Exactly.
Show us proof that this isn't how you still think.
Right. Wow.
And again, I will say that you do have to look at comments in the context of time.
I agree.
And that if I look at my own view of the way things have gone from the time when I was a child and looked at things that I didn't understand to the way I look at them now, I can see a development of my ideas.
Exactly.
I will say, however, I never started out from a place
that ugly
where I automatically labeled anybody bad.
She was appointed for some reason to the court. Maybe there was a death or a vacancy. Scott Walker did appoint her. Somebody also suggests that he also attended Marquette University, and they do look about the same. He probably attended around the same time. He's probably been aware from day one of who she is and how she feels.
Well, yes and no. I think that's a leap. I didn't know everybody in my Washington University class, believe me.
Oh, God, these people, they're everywhere. They're such haters. They're such unbelievable haters.
They are haters.
Wow. Here's something a little bit more happy and a little bit surprising. The Catholic Church in the state of Michigan has just told all of the employees that are with the church in the state of Michigan that their health coverage will be extended to include adults living in that employee's household who share their living expenses. In other words, they're covering
same-sex spouses.
Yep.
Good for them.
And what they
and
did,
adult children, and
yeah. But they worded it so they acknowledge that the coverage will cover then same-sex partners, but they do not specifically use the term same-sex partners, and they did it because they want to comply with the federal rules about non-discrimination against same-sex partners, but at the same time they finessed it so they avoided language that would, appear to be against church teachings.
Well, they just made it broader. That's fine. That's fine. Wouldn't happen in St. Louis, but that's fine.
No, and I'm not aware. I haven't seen that happening anywhere.
No.
Good
In
for
fact,
them.
what you're seeing far more often is people getting fired for getting married in Catholic parishes. And in the cases that come to light, the person is always sort of totally blindsided because the church knew about the partnership for years and years and years, and only when they got married did they say they publicized who they were and what they were doing, and therefore had to be fired.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a real about face.
So their spokesman said, "We believe with this modification of our health benefit plan that it is both legally sound and consistent with Catholic teaching." They parsed it, I guess. The plan pertains to residency, he says, not relationships.
Right. That's what they did, and it allows for coverage of adult children or grandparents, right, or nieces, nephews, whoever is living in an extended house. That's fine. That's good. Good for them.
And I hope that they've shown other dioceses and other organizations. This is a statewide organization, Michigan.
A way forward.
Catholic Conference. The Catholic Conference of Michigan is the one who did this. That there is a way just to move forward because we can't stop it. And it is an acknowledgement that they live in a country, right, that in which religion is not to intervene in the law, right?
It's also and it's also acknowledgement that their employees are not all Catholic. Hobby Lobby.
God. Yeah. And you also had the Supreme Court of the U.S. yesterday doing a real good. Apparently, it was unanimous. They said there was no, whatever. They signed off on. Was it Georgia? Georgia Supreme Court. They told them that they were a bunch of friggin' fools, and no way can you prevent a gay couple who have adopted children in another state. To then say that if they move to another state, and I think there was a divorce, they divorced, and the one mother said they were denying that she could be the mother of her 3 children. And the Georgia Supreme Court, I think it was, said she's not. And the Supreme Court said, "Are you out of your cotton-picking minds?" It just what you said just violates the Constitution. Totally violates the Constitution. So at some point, these people will be taken kicking and screaming forward, but they don't forget and they don't change their minds, and you get Donald Trump. You get a backlash because of our black president and because of these gays and degenerates all of a sudden being treated just like regular people. That the level of rage and anger and fear around just that, we're always saying that these are economic issues that have made all these people angry. I'm not so sure that's true. I think it's the social issues. They've lost on all the social issues. Don't you think that's it? Every single one. And that's what's made them nuts. So when they say make America great again, they're saying give us the country that we recognize. And they can't have it. We've moved forward, and they just can't come with us. I don't know. What do you do?
No, and
what do you have
another small victory. I mean, I have to say how grateful I am that Erin Andrews was awarded.
Yes, I wanted to. Yes,
all that gazillions of money, most of which she won't see, but it's the point. And I really do want every hotel who uses the defense that we aren't responsible for our the safety of our And if we give out somebody's hotel room or number, it's a big deal.
Who is it? So is the judgment's against Marriott?
The judgment is against
the hotel,
the franchisee Marriott.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that Marriott itself, because the franchisee was the wrongdoer, and I think they probably. When it's not Marriott owned, it probably has some legal wall.
And she was awarded $55 million.
Yeah.
By the way, there was on Fox this morning. On Fox this morning, I guess Fox and Friends. There was some guy on, and again, forgive me, I don't have the exact words, who, when talking about that, said about the money she made. If a famous woman, I don't think she should, but if a famous woman were to charge $1,500 for 60 minutes for a guy to look at her naked for 1 minute, he said people would pay $1,500 for 1 minute of looking at her naked. He said something to the effect that she could maybe make that $55 million in 10 years, 15. He said something like that. That was his reaction to her getting a $55 million judgment.
No. People
What?
fundamentally don't, especially for some strange reason, men don't seem to understand that
Women don't want to be looked at naked when they
don't know that they're being looked at naked and have their image all over the place, and that, yes, it's a real damage, and, yeah, she really could suffer lifelong personal damage. This wasn't about affecting her income. This was about, how dare you, you may not do this, we're going to hit you where it hurts, because apparently it's all you understand.
Yeah. I mean, Selena is sitting with her brows knitted. She doesn't even understand that.
I think the reason that she got so much is because of the guy who was out to dinner, and one of the defense witnesses out to dinner brings up YouTubes it, and is laughing around with his dinner mates, saying, well, if it's going to cost me all this money, you might as well enjoy it.
So they were looking at
her. They were perpetrating the damage in public, and a waiter was appalled and let people know.
Huh.
And I, honestly, it's really, no, you really don't get it, do you?
It's funny. I was, in a hotel room Saturday night in Philadelphia. I was getting into bed, and I saw what looked like a peephole right in the wall. And it was because, I'm aware now of her. And I actually looked at it, and it was not. It was an indentation with a screw in a very strange place. It was odd. It was odd. Didn't look to be anything.
Well, I suggest traveling with Post-it notes.
That you just stick over things?
And you just stick over anything that you see.
Well, most people would. She was stalked by this guy because he had the hots.
Financial problems.
Oh, is that what it was?
Oh, yeah, I have financial problems. I'm not proud of what I did.
What does having financial problems have to do with
I don't know.
him doing?
He was trying to sell it. He was shopping the tape.
Oh, I see. But so this woman is abused in that way and humiliated, and how mortifying. And then these guys talking on Fox this morning are calculating. Well, I don't get it. A woman could, if she just, okay, I'll give you 60 seconds to look at me naked, and that'll be $1,500. And man, think of the money she could make in.
Because all women are prostitutes,
Women are products. Women are.
Well, he's suggesting that she should willingly sell herself in that way.
Or he's telling other women, hey, look at this opportunity here. I don't know. What's that guy doing on? What?
And mostly what I think of is, how brave is she?
Yeah, I agree.
She just forced herself to keep going out there, even though she knew when she was standing in front of a football stadium that, fully half of the people there had gone
seen
and
her
looked,
naked.
Or were looking even as she was standing there, and just kept putting,
And explain to me. So those pictures are still out. There's no getting them back.
There's no getting them back.
So they're still out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I didn't really follow this that closely, but I did see that the defense tried to suggest that since these pictures had been out there, she had in fact made a ton of money at her job. It hadn't hurt her financially at all.
Right.
Like that was something that had anything to do with it.
You didn't suffer any damage. Where's the damage?
Yeah, where's the damage?
If you have money, you have no damage. And what is wonderful about this verdict is it said, no, she has a right to privacy, she has a right to all of these things, she has a right to peace of mind. You have caused her immense and lasting psychological damage. That has a price, regardless of whether it's affected her income. And here's the price, assholes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yay!
Yay!
I say yay!
Yay! And I say yay as well. And I think with that...
but I really want to underscore how terribly and wonderfully
brave
she is.
Because also by doing what she did bring attention to it. She made herself have to be...
She opened herself up to letting people see how much this hurt, to the last shred of privacy that she had left. She had to show them her scars. You know, awful.
Yeah.
But that's our justice system, and it needs to be that way. And she was brave to pursue it. Good for her.
Yeah. Okay, we'll leave the last word to Margie, who says, thank God for Xanax.
I agree.
Yes, a toast to Xanax. Suze, thanks.
Bye.
I'll call. We'll talk about.
We'll talk.
Okay.
We've got time. Bye.
Bye. Bye, you guys. See you tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.